Hi folks, welcome to another episode of My Life with Robert Burns. Jim Thompson and Douglas Mackenzie here again to talk to one of our cronies from around the Burns world. Hi Jim.
Hi Douglas, hi everybody.
Tonight folks, our guest is the Senior Vice President of Greenacre Burns Club, the Mother Club. So tonight, please welcome Jean Abdulrahim.
Hello.
Hi Jean, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Good, good, good. How's life in Greenock?
Very wet today. But we've had a great summer here, so we can't complain too much.
Good, good, good. Jean, if you've seen any of these things, you'll know that we always start with the same question. Can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. I was born and raised in Largs, and I stayed there until I was 18, and I got married to a Greenock chap, and I moved to Greenock to stay. I had 3 daughters, Emma, Kerry and Cher, but sadly I lost Emma 5 years ago. I've got 8 lovely grandchildren, 4 boys, 4 girls, aging from 6 to 26. I used to have my own...
Was that where you paused to allow me to come in and say you don't look old enough?
No. I wasn't expecting you to comment on that. Well, just start again. Just carry on.
I carry on.
Yeah. I had a hotel in Greenock for 17 years, and I managed that as well as bringing up 3 daughters. Then I got divorced, so things had to change. I then moved to Glasgow. I bought a property in Glasgow, and I moved to Glasgow, and I worked for a millionaire hotelier in Glasgow, in the West End of Glasgow, for 5 years, until I really got fed up making him richer. So I thought, no, I need a career change here. And that is when I went into the charity shelter, which I was there for 24 years until I retired last year. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with the charity. It's a completely different ball game working for a charity than working for a personal person, making him richer and richer. Whereas I didn't mind making the charity rich because the money was getting spent in a good cause. And I retired last year. And for the last year, I don't know how I ever managed to work because I am never in. As well as babysitting, I'm here, there and everywhere. And I'm enjoying every minute of it. I recommend it to anybody, retirement.
Excellent. Well, that was a bit of a whistle-stop tour. So let's go back and tell us a bit about your school days. Where did you go to school?
Right, it was Largs Primary then and Largs High School. And when I was at primary school, I took up the violin in primary 5, and I played the violin until I left school. But in those days, violin playing wasn't very popular as it is now. You were made a bit of a fool of when you were seen walking along the road carrying your violin in its case. So I did that and thoroughly enjoyed it. And it took me to a lot of places. St Giles Cathedral I played in, Glasgow Cathedral, met Alexander Gibson, the conductor of the Royal, I can't remember, what was Alexander Gibson, Royal...
Scottish National Orchestra?
Scottish National Orchestra, yeah, Alexander Gibson. I went to orchestral camp in West Linton for 2 years for a fortnight. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It got me through my primary and my early secondary days. Then when I left school at 14 after 4th year, I really wanted to be a nurse, but to be a nurse, you had to be 17 and a half. So I thought, well, what can I do for a year and a half? So I went to college and I did secretarial, shorthand and typing. But unfortunately, I met my first husband and nothing went out the window. I just wanted to get married and have babies, as one does not nowadays. So that was actually my school days and my college days after 1 year at college. And then literally I got married. I was engaged at 17, married at 18 and had my first child at 19.
Wow.
But looking back, I don't think I would do it any differently because I've got lovely grandchildren now and I feel I'm still young enough to do and understand where they're coming from. So, and looking back, I don't think I would change anything.
And what about sports? Did you get involved in any sports?
Yes, I was very sporty at school. I was the school captain, first year, second year, third year, and fourth year. Hockey teams. In first year, I used to play with the fourth years in hockey. We went all around Ayrshire playing different schools. And netball, I was a good netball. I was a netballer player as well. I was never a runner. I never ever enjoyed running, but I liked the hockey and the netball. Yes. And I used to go to trampoline lessons. I lived in Largs up at the Inverclyde Sports Centre. And so there was all these different things on offer. So I used to go for trampoline lessons. I used to go for tennis lessons, badminton lessons, horse riding lessons. I think my mum was just in to get me out of the house. She used to send me to all these different lessons. I thoroughly enjoyed them all, but I didn't carry them on into my adult life.
And did you carry the violin on? Is that something you still do today?
No, I didn't. As I say, when I was younger, it wasn't popular. In Largs, it wasn't popular. No. I regret it. Somehow I regret it. I didn't. But there you are. Yeah, too late now.
And tell us about the hotel. When you started running a hotel, there must be stories about that.
Oh, I could write a book about them. Oh my goodness, that makes you grow up. Hotel life, you see it all. It was a 30-bedroom hotel down in Eldon Street in Greenock. It was called the Trinidad Hotel. It'd been there for a way before the war. And my eldest daughter worked in it. She used to wait the tables before she went to school in the morning, and then she used to serve evening meals at night time. Now, that was when Greenock had the shipyards. So we used to take the crews off submarines. The workmen used to come up from Newcastle, the painters, and we're always full. It was a good life for 17 years. Hard life, 7 days a week, it was just hard going. Looking back, I'm like, how did you manage to do that, Jean? But I had a good staff. I had a good bunch of staff, and they all supported me and stayed by me. In actual fact, at the end, I had to actually pay them redundancy. They'd all been with me for so long. Just characters. It wasn't a lot of tourists. It was more workmen we took, because who wants to come to Green at the holidays, So it was more workmen, and oh my goodness, the tales I could tell. I wish I'd written them all down because I would have made a good book. When the wives phoned and I had to make up, they used to say to me, tell my wife I'm working late, and they're away out with their fancy women, and oh my goodness. And the wife used to phone late at night time and they weren't in, and though they had told their wives they were having an early night, just all these types of stories. But they were a great bunch, and a lot of them returned. They used to have maybe a 3-month stint, then go home for 3 months, then come back for 3-6 months at a time, 7 days a week, and they used to go home maybe once every 3-4 weeks. So they were up to make the money, but they also enjoyed their life as well, my goodness.
And what about the Glasgow hotel when you moved to
the
Glasgow?
Glasgow hotels, they were a different kettle of fish. They were kind of what you would call nowadays boutique hotels, and it was tourists, mostly tourists. They were, one of them was across the road from where the BBC used to be in Queen Margaret Drive.
All right.
It's not there now, it's down at the water. But we used to get a lot in from the BBC, you know, guests and that overnight staying. And that was a completely different kettle of fish, that the Glasgow hotels. Equally enjoyable, but just completely different clientele. More complainers, I would say, at that kind of level. They wanted Hilton standard for, you know, the boutiques, you know, what they were paying in the small hotel. So but it was good.
And did you get any celebrities from the BBC?
Oh, I can't remember now. Yeah, just
I doubt they weren't very, very well-known celebrities then. If you kind of remember,
no, there wasn't. No,
must have been minor ones.
I remember once I got filmed for a kind of Mystic Meg program, but all you saw was my hands and on the ball, and it was all kind of smoke and all that. And I got recorded for that. Yeah, it was quite interesting. They hired the hotel for the day to do that. So that's my claim to fame.
So then there was a big career change and you went into charity work. What did you do with Shelter?
I started off as a manager in Shelter, and I worked up to an area manager. And latterly, I was in charge of 15 shops in the west of Scotland. But I wasn't only in the west of Scotland. I started off in the west of Scotland, and then I moved down to the Midlands and Kent, and I was there for 5 years down in Midlands and Kent. Then I came back up, and I did the north of Scotland. That was a big area to cover. We went from Inverness over to Peterhead, Fraserburgh, down to Aberdeen, right down the east coast into Glasgow. It was a huge area. So I did that for another, I think, maybe 4 years, and then I came back into the West Coast, and I was there till I retired in the West Coast.
Very good. So retirement is mainly about looking after the Grandwains, is it?
Looking after the Grandwains, shopping, lunch with my girlfriends and larks. It's just every day's something different. In fact, I've got a builder working upstairs in the flat upstairs, and he said to me today, "Jean, you are never in." And I'm like, well, if you tell me when you're coming, I will be in. But no, I'm not normally in.
Well, obviously, a big part of that going out involves your interest in Robert Burns. So yes. I'll get Jim to start to get into a conversation with you about that interest.
Well, as always, Jane, again in this video, how did you get started with Burns?
Well, this is a funny question, because I have absolutely no recollection of getting Burns at school in Largs. But I know that must be wrong, because my brother, who was 3 years older than me, he was very good at Burns. So a few weeks ago, I was down visiting my friend who I went through school from primary 1 and still best friends with. I said, "Anne, did we get Burns at school?" She said, "Aye, of course we did. Remember, we got the moose and we got the Sayre Finger and all that." And I'm like, all right, I've got absolutely no recollection of that whatsoever. Then I thought to myself, now don't laugh when I tell you this, Jim. Before I went to school, I couldn't speak. I had a dreadful stutter. So when people spoke to me, I used to hide behind my mum's back. And I remember going to a speech therapist up at Largs Primary before I went to school, to this therapist. And then I think I went to maybe primary 1, primary 2. I can't remember much after that. But the only thing I can think of why I don't remember Burns' poetry is I was terrified I would be asked to stand up and say it in the classroom. Because I do remember reading, and when the teacher read from a book, and then the class that she told somebody else in the class to carry on reading from this book. And see, when it came to me, I used to pretend I didn't know where we were because I couldn't pronounce the word. You know what I mean? So that's the only thing I can think. I must have had a block about learning poetry, because if I'd learnt that poetry, I might get asked to repeat it in the classroom. So, and when I tell people that, they think, oh, for God's sake, you fair make up for it now. But that's the only thing I can think of, that how I have no recollection of reading To a Moose or saying the safe finger or anything like that. And she's like, she couldn't believe I couldn't remember it.
But I know you're a member of Pussy Nancy's in Skelmerley, and you remember obviously the Mother Club. You must have collided with Burns at some point.
I must have, sorry?
You must have collided with Burns at some point then.
Well, yes, by just maybe sitting listening to other people. When have you ever heard me up reciting, Jim?
Well, I haven't, but
no.
I'm a member of 2 Burns clubs, so you must have joined at some point.
Yes, but not. I feel I'm on a road, and I'm climbing this road, and I'm getting there, and I can see myself reciting. You know, I'm not at the top of the hill of the road yet, and I think I will, but up till now, I never put myself forward, never. And I think it's back to my young days of being terrified.
Well, speaking of that then, how did you get involved with the Federation in the first place?
I think we just went along. My friend and Irene, late Irene, Henry, we used to go to everything Burns. We used to go along to everything. And it was just, we went because we really enjoyed it. We enjoyed the laughs, we enjoyed the people, we enjoyed the friendliness. We just enjoyed the atmosphere of it all.
And I mean, Irene obviously no longer with us, and it's such a sad shame because she's a lovely, lovely lady. And that's the first I met you, was at a Federation event, and it must have been a long time ago now. But when did you join Greenup?
Now, I'm trying to think that as well. I think it was maybe about 20 years ago. My sister-in-law, she was Isabel Lind. She was president of Greenup. Now, I was trying to remember when she was president of Greenup. I've got a feeling maybe it was kind of 96. Now, when Isabel was president, I used to go to things, but I wouldn't join it. I used to go along to things. In fact, when the conference was in Dumfries, the year she was president, I took her down to the conference, dropped her, and then came back, and then went back down and picked her up at the end of the conference, you know, so I wasn't involved in it then. I think it was George Bryden. Do you remember George Bryden from Greenock?
Yes, I do.
Yes. I think it was through George Bryden, because we didn't know much about the Federation. When we joined Greenock, we didn't know anything about the Federation. And we thought you had to be invited to go to conference. You had to be invited. And I remember having this conversation with George Bryden and saying, George, how do you get invited to the conference? And he kind of looked at us as if we were stupid and said, you don't get invited, you just apply to go. And that was our first, I think it was Peebles was our first conference we went to. You were at it there with your wife at Peebles. And then I think we were just asked to join the conference committee. And from there, it's history, you know.
It certainly is history. It's time passing. Well, you've been, I mean, I saw you on Friday night. You were out, you and Isabel and June, the three Greenock Charmers, stole the show. You coming up Scottish Verse Night once again. Did you enjoy yourself?
Happy June.
You enjoy your night out?
Fantastic. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Got home at 1 o'clock in the morning, but thoroughly enjoyed it. You know, I mean, I would travel all over Scotland to go to Burns events, which I have pretty, you know, I go down to Dumfries a lot, and anything that's on there, Jane Brown gives us the bell if there's things on down there. So literally there's no holding us back.
No, it doesn't appear to be, because I mean, I know you're involved with that maniac Fitzgerald like Jimmy Law and Lance's. Are you still going to these first Monday every month things?
Well, not since COVID. And I just spoke to Jimmy on Friday night asking about what's the position, because the pub's been sold. And I said, are we losing, you know, our meeting? And he's hopeful that they're having meeting rooms upstairs, and he's hoping we'll get one of them up there, but it won't be till next year, hopefully early next year.
All right.
But it's something else. It's Pussy Nancy's, Scarily Pussy Nancy's is something else. It's fantastic.
Well, it's certainly different. It's certainly different. But having said that, I would advise anybody out there watching this who has the wish to go, because it's a cracking event.
Oh.
It's the time he runs one. But I mean, what persuaded you to get involved with the committee and then obviously take office at Greenock?
Well, they've been asking me for quite a few years, and I wouldn't entertain it. I just, no. When I was working at, but when I do anything, I have to do it 100%, or I don't want to do it. And if I can't give 100%, I don't want to do it. And I felt the time wasn't right for me to give them 100% because I was working, and being an area manager, I was away from home overnight. Sometimes when I was in the north of Scotland, I was away on a Tuesday morning, I didn't get home till late Friday night. So I was shattered, then I had to see the grandkids. Just, it wasn't, the timing wasn't right. So now that I'm retired, I just feel, yeah, Jean, come on. You know, you have to start taking something, give something back more, give something back. And so when Christine Curry, the president last year, approached me, and I said, yes, I will do it. And here I am.
Yes. And I take it it'll be next April that you become the president.
Yes, Jim.
Is it a 1 year commitment, or is it?
Yes, it's only a year, thank goodness, yeah.
President of the Motherwell Club, thank goodness it's by.
Well, it's you don't know what's going to happen, you know. I mean, for the last 2 years it's been horrendous, you know, so you don't know if it's going to run as it's run in the past, or whether it's going to be restricted to Zoom and some meetings, and it's just the not knowing.
So what's the plan this year with Greenock? I mean, you've got lots of events throughout the year. Are they going to be live? Are you going to?
Yes, we've got one on the 21st. It's face-to-face in the Tontine. And then we've got the big dinner coming up on the 13th of November, the Culinary Brown. Then we're going down to London in December, meeting up with the London Burns Club. And we're going down there to Culinary Brown's grave, wreath, and just bits and pieces, going to the embankment to see Burns' statue and Poets' Corner, just these kind of things. So we're really looking forward. I think so far there's about 16 of us going. So that should be good. And it's the weekend before Christmas. So it should be really, London will be lovely then.
So can you tell us a bit about the Culinary Brown event? What's the story there?
We're having a Culinary Brown dinner in November, and it's Alan Beck who's the lead on that, as Alan's doing a PhD on Culinary Brown. And it's really, really interesting because the amount of people, Culinary Brown lived in Greenock, and he was a president of the Greenock Burns Club for two different sessions he did in Greenock Burns Club. And he was the instigator of the Burns Federation. He set up the Burns, he was one of them that set up the Burns Club of London. So, you know, and he lived in Greenock. And the amount of people never heard of him. And literally, I hadn't heard of him really till a year ago. His parents' grave were the process of getting his parents' gravestone fixed in the Old West Kirk, just off on the Esplanade, the church on the Esplanade. And but a lot of people in Greenock thought he was buried there, but in actual fact, it was his parents who was buried there. And the fashion then, whoever erected a stone put their name on it, so it's Culinary Brown. So that's the part of the stone that's on show. So people are reading it as Culinary Brown, so they think it's Culinary Brown's grave. So that a lot of people have learnt something then. No, he's down in London. His ashes are in London, Highgate in London. So.
And is it going to be a celebratory dinner or a commemorative dinner?
It's a celebratory, commemorative, whatever you want to call it. It's quite a prestigious one. We've sold over 200 tickets so far. And this, you know, with COVID and all that, I think we're doing really, really well. And we've still got another 4 weeks to go. So we're hoping we could even get it to the 250 mark, which would be fantastic.
And where's it being held? Is it in the Tontine?
No, the Greenock Town Hall, which
wow.
is very prestigious as well. It's a beautiful, beautiful town hall. So lovely, really, really nice. The Tontine couldn't take 250 people anyway, even if we wanted to do it in the Tontine. So it's the town hall. So we've got a lot of eminent speakers coming, and so. But Alan's in his glory organising it all, so he's.
He's a good lad.
Yeah.
Yes, he's a nice boy, but he's not as good a singer as his wife.
Oh, she's gorgeous, isn't she, Polly? Beautiful. Beautiful.
I've never heard anything like that in my life before. Live.
Yeah. Well, she does quite a lot. She's done over the years. She's done a lot in for Greenock Burns Club. Polly, yeah. And
getting back to Burns, one of the questions we often ask our guests is there any aspect of Burns that interests you more than others, or any characters in the Burns story?
The character that stands out to me is Jean Armour. I just think she is wonderful. To have put up with Robert Burns as she did, to take his illegitimate child and bring it up as her own is, can you imagine women in this day doing what she did and put up with what she put up with? I just think she's fantastic, really, really fantastic, and I admire her. Wow, I would admire her.
So on your trips to Dumfries, presumably you'll have gone to the Jean Armour statue to take that in. And
yes.
Have you managed to get to the one? There's one in Mauchline, just up the road from where I'm sitting at the moment. But
yes, on the cross, just at the T-junction. Yeah. My son-in-law comes from Mauchline, so I go to Mauchline quite a lot.
All right. So I just wondered if the Jean Armour statues were part of a pilgrimage.
No, I don't think so. I just know she's there, and I know she's in Dumfries, and I've been. I can't remember what it was. We were at the statue, and we had to clear the broken glass away from it before other people arrived. Yeah.
Jean, have you a favourite Burns poem or Burns song?
Well, I was thinking about this as well, and I have two. One's The Soldier's Return. Now, Angus Middleton will not believe when he hears me say this, because I always make such a fool of Angus. I'm like, oh, no again, Angus, no again. But I really do like it. I secretly like it. He doesn't know I secretly like it, because I'll always give him such a hard time of it. And My Handsome Nail, I just think it's just such a simple poem. He wrote it when he was young, and it's just uncomplicated for me. I can just understand it easily. They're I think my two, apart from the usual, popular ones. But yeah, I like these two.
Can I just let you into a wee secret?
Mm-hmm.
Your secret about secretly liking Angus doing The Soldier's Return is no longer a secret.
And you'll give me a bit of stick for it now. We were, when Angus came junior vice of the Federation, we were like his groupies. Me and Irene Henry were like his groupies. We used to cheer him on and all. I think he quite enjoyed it. We enjoyed it anyway. Some good times, good laughs and good times, good memories.
You must have seen a fair few places over the years going to conference.
Aye. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Did you go to Canada?
Sorry?
Did you go to Canada the last time?
Yes, Winnipeg. Yeah, was it Winnipeg? Yeah. That was a kind of in our early days of being in the Burns kind of movement. We didn't know that many people. Though I've got this wee story that when we were on the plane, Irene and me were walking up the corridor, and who do we spy sitting in two seats but Joe McGinty and Raymond Connell? So I just tapped them in the shoulder, and they're like, oh, hello, boys. And they're like, oh, fuck, where did you come from? They didn't know we were on the same flight as them. So from then onwards, the whole holiday, we were a foursome, the Four Musketeers. We called ourselves the Four Musketeers. And sadly, there's only two of us left.
Oh, dear.
But that was a fantastic holiday in Winnipeg. That was really, really memorable. Oh, fantastic.
And being part of the conference committee, what does that involve? Do you have to go and check out the hotels and such like? Well,
no, I'm only an ordinary committee member. I don't. It's the convener and maybe the office manager. They go and check out the hotels, and they have meetings with the manager.
I just wondered, with your hotel experience, why they wouldn't be using you to make sure.
I don't know.
There you go. That's maybe something I haven't thought about yet.
Maybe.
Well, I've got to be honest and say, I wish when I was the convener of that committee, you went and sorted out the conference for me, because it was a bloody nightmare.
Where were your conference?
Well, I started with the Irvine one, and then I did the next three Peebles ones.
I was on the committee with you.
Yes, you were.
Yeah.
You were never at any of the meetings with the hotel, right enough.
But you see, if you don't ask me, I don't put myself forward. There's some things I just...
You talked before we started, Jean, about being a regular up at the Laprake competition. Did you enjoy going to these?
I thoroughly enjoyed Laprake. We used to go for the weekend. Well, Irene and me, we started off just coming for the day, and we thought, and we started talking to people, and they're like, oh, we come for the weekend. And so I think for 2 or 3 years we came for the weekend. And we used to go to the school in the morning for the school's competition. Then we used to go to the grave for the reciting Laprake, and then we used to go to the competition. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved it. I've even got the t-shirt still. The blue t-shirt.
Very good.
I think it was you that sold me too.
I think it probably was. Aye.
Well, I've only one major question for you left, and that's, where do you see yourself going in terms of Burns in the future? Is your career ending with the presidency at Greenock, or could you persuaded to maybe move on to something else?
I have been asked this question, and my answer to it is, let me see how I do in Greenock, and then ask me again after my year's up in Greenock.
You mentioned earlier on that part of the celebration for Culinary Brown was a trip to London to get together the London Burns Club. Can you tell us more about that and where you're going and who you're going to be seeing?
Right, we're leaving on the Friday morning, travelling down to London. On the Friday night, we're having a reception with the London Burns Club in the Caledonian Club, which is quite a prestigious club in Kensington, I think it is, the Caledonian Club. And that's where the London Burns Club hold their meetings. That's on the Friday night, so it's an kind of informal night, open mic night. People go up and do their bits. And then on the Saturday, we're going to the Embankment. We're also going to see the Poets' Corner, his bust up on the wall at Westminster Abbey. And we're going on the Saturday night's free, so we'll go do a show. Or so everybody's just doing their own thing, but the four of us are going to do a show on the Saturday night. Then Sunday we're going to I think it's St Columba's Church, is the Church of Scotland in London, and that's the one Culinary Brown used to attend. And after the church service, we're then going up to Highgate to lay a wreath up at Culinary Brown's grave, with the London Burns Club over there as well.
Very good. And how are you travelling? Are you flying or going by bus?
No,
or?
We're going first class train. June
wow.
Forbes organised the trains, and the tickets only went on sale last Monday. So she's been checking for the last month for tickets to go on sale, and they went on sale, and we managed to get first class going down on the Friday and coming back up on the Monday.
I would imagine that's not going to be a quiet carriage.
Well, of course it will be, unless, well, it's all free drink and all that, so we won't say no. we're good Scots, we don't say no to nothing, except loads.
So that's going to be quite an event. What about other events? One of the things we very often ask folk is, you know, is there a memorable supper you went to, or another event that lasts in your memory?
This year, we had a Kilmarnock celebration in Kilmarnock, and it was called Tak a Cup of Kindness Cafe, and it was held in the headquarters in John Finney Street. And I was down in Kilmarnock my holidays for 9 days, 8 nights in a hotel. So that was my holidays to Kilmarnock, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. Hard work, because I was in the cafe with Laurie, and it was really, really busy. Well, it was busy. We did very well. We made a good profit, more than we thought we could do. And it was the first, and we hope, of many. We didn't know what to expect, but we learned from it, and we've taken the good forward, and we'll drop off the bad, and hopefully next year we can make it a bigger event and a more successful event.
So it was kind of branded as the Killyburn Supper, but you know more about that, Jim, don't you? Because you were much involved in it.
Well, I just did. I was involved in one very minor event, and that was the Burns and Kilmarnock Walk. But there was all sorts of other things happening. There was obviously the wreath laying on the Sunday and various other things. But the central point of it was a cup of kindness. That's where the meeting point was, and that's where all the workers were needed, the folk who were actually doing stuff. You know, I mean, I spoke to the ex-provost who was sitting outside getting served. You know, Jim Todd, who's a lovely, lovely man, a great Burnside, and he was saying it was the best lunch he'd had in years. So.
So did you get a chance, Jean, to sample some of the other things that were going on? Or were you kept working for the whole 9 days?
No, well, during the day I didn't get the chance. I didn't go on one of Jim's tours, which I kind of regret a bit. I wish I had. I was involved in the reef laying on the Sunday, and there was 2 things on at night time, which were really, really good. I can't remember the name of the hotel it was held in again.
The Urbanist. The Urbanist.
Yes, the Urbanist. And I went there. One was a poetry night and one was a singing night. Both weren't greatly attended, but absolutely fantastic. Fantastic. In fact, one person said you'd have paid £100 in London to hear what we heard that night.
Yeah, I certainly some of the talent that was billed to be there, fairly well known, and some excellent quality. Because I believe you'd Simon Lamb one night.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Simon's a star. He's doing very well with his poetry. Yeah.
He was at Newcomer on Friday night.
Jean, you're talking about being a large girl and eventually most of your life in Greenock, and you told us a little bit about the hotel that you started off in Greenock, which I think you called the Trinidad. What eventually happened to that hotel?
Well, it's been here for a long, long while. I think it opened maybe 1930s. I've got a feeling 1935 comes to mind. Right, I don't know why, but 1935 comes to mind. So after everything closed down, the yards closed down in Greenock, there wasn't the same business. It wasn't the same business, so we could see the way things were going. So we halved the hotel into, it was originally 2 Victorian houses anyway, and we put it back to 2 Victorian houses. One was run a hotel, which gave us the 15 bedrooms on one side, and the other side, I stayed in it, 4 different floors for I think maybe about a year. I stayed in this 9-bedroom house. It was huge. It was anyway. Then we put in for planning permission, and we got it passed for three flats. In fact, we've asked for 4 and they've knocked us back and would only give us 3 flats. So in actual fact, we got 3 flats, and then the business really, I got divorced, that's what it was, and business just wasn't there any longer in Greenock, that type of business for that accommodation, and it was sold, that side was sold. And they put in, the people bought it, put in for planning permission, and they got planning permission for 4 flats, even though it's identical building. They got permission, moved on a bit, they get permission for 4 flats. So they've got 4 flats, we've got 3 flats this side. And I actually still stay in the flat. So I've been here for 44 years in the building, give or take, going down to England to work for 5 years. But I never sold it, I just rented it out. So I'm still in the building 43 years later. Wow.
So if it hadn't been for that building and your ability to convert it, you'd have been away somewhere else, and the mother club would be missing its next president.
World's my oyster.
Well, hopefully when you've had your time as president, you'll maybe come back and talk to us again about your year as president. But yes. In the meantime, just want to say thank you very much, Jean, for telling us about your life with Robert Burns.
Thank you.